on how we are going to use up 10 pounds of ground beef. Now you saw in part 1 that I made little meatloaves. Part 2 is going to be making burgers. So we're not going to take a measurement, we're just going to take a amount of ground beef here. Now burgers is another way you can stretch your ground beef because you're making sandwiches and you're going to be using the bread as part of a filler. So we're going to take our meat like this, and then we're going to add a little of my homemade spice mix that I make here on the Homestead. And that's just about it. And we're going to incorporate the meat and the spices together. The spice mix has oregano, it has a little of thyme in it, it has garlic powder, and it has some onion powder. There is no salt in this as well. I don't cook with any salt. People can add that if they like. Now I'm going to show you what I have to make burgers. We have two choices. I got this antique one for 25 cents at the thrift store, and I got this one for 50 cents at the thrift store. What you do is you take a little meat and you put it in it just like this. And you pack it in. Now you could just do this by hand, but I always like little gadgets like this. And you turn it, and it turns out a perfectly shaped burger. So you go like this, pack it in just like that, turn the handle, and out it comes just like that. Now this one makes a bigger burger. So for the men in your family, if you want to have a bigger burger for them, you can go like this, and you push down like this, and it comes out just like this. It actually makes little lines in it. So you can do it that way. I like the little one. So I'm going to continue, and I'm going to make my burgers just like this. And I'm going to turn it. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like on the cookie sheet. And then what I'm going to do is I put these on a cookie sheet, and I stick them in the freezer until they're hard. And then I will put a piece of wax paper between them, and then I will put them in a freezer bag. So it goes just like that. Now this it's going to make about 8 burgers. So 8 burgers for just one little big hunk of it out of my ground beef here. And I'm going to show you what I do with the rest of this ground beef. Now remember, we're still on this 10 pounds of ground beef. Looks pretty good. Okay, let me pan the camera and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, that's what the burgers look like. 8 burgers, and that's just, one of them is really big too. You could almost make that into 2. But 8 burgers, and that's just the second part of my frugal meals with ground beef. Okay, we're going to continue with part 2, and I'm going to show you what I do with what's left. So this is what's left of our ground beef. I'm not sure how many pounds it is. It might be maybe 3 pounds of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to saute all of it. And then half of it I'm going to make sloppy joe. And the other half is just going to be plain sauteed ground beef to add to spaghetti sauce. But I wanted to show you another frugal thing I do when I saute my ground beef. So we're going to put all the ground beef in here. And everybody knows how to saute ground beef, but I'm going to show you what else I got. So when I was at my discount grocery store, I always go to the produce section. And the produce section on the Monday, they always have discounted things. Today, what they had was all kinds of peppers and mushrooms. So what I did is, and garlic. So what I did is I cut up, yesterday I spent 2 hours and I cut up all the peppers and all the mushrooms and the garlic. And I'm going to put this to some of my sauteed meat. And then the rest I'm going to freeze, and then you can put them in omelets and all kinds of stuff. I do have a lot of this stuff dried. I always have fresh, dried, and then frozen. So we're just going to pour some of this in, just like this. I got this whole bucket was full when I started cutting this stuff, and I paid $3 for it. It was $1 per bag per peppers, and so this was a really good deal. But it needed to get used up, so that's why they have it on sale. But I just wanted to show you, I'm going to saute this, I'm going to take half of it out, and I'm going to freeze it, and then I'll show you how I make my sloppy joe. Alright, so I took out about 2 pounds of the ground beef, sauteed it. I'm going to freeze that for if you want to make spaghetti sauce. And now we are going to make our sloppy joe. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my homemade ketchup, and I'm going to put a pint of that in. This came from my pantry. And then it calls for chopped onion, which we already have the dehydrated onion in here. And it calls for a pepper, which we already have it in here. And then it calls for 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm just going to estimate about a 1/4 cup. That. And it calls for a little garlic powder, which goes like that. And it goes by taste. I'll taste it when I'm done here and see once how I want it yet. Calls for a little bit of prepared mustard. So we'll just put a little of that in. It calls for like a tablespoon. I hardly ever follow recipes. I wish I was. I would never be no cook on TV because people wouldn't watch me because I don't go by recipes a whole lot. It calls for a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Now that is a lot. Worcestershire is very salty. So we're not going near 1/4 cup of Worcestershire. That's horrible. So I'll just do a little of that in. And it calls for 1 tablespoon of chili powder. That seems to be an awful lot too, but we're going to go with half that. This is a new recipe for me. I've never put chili powder in mine, but I normally just, when I make sloppy joe, I just put a little ketchup in, I put a little brown sugar in, and I put a little like garlic powder or onion powder, and then a little mustard. And then I call it a day, and that's what we eat. And it is really good, but I'm following a recipe a little bit. And then this is store-bought tomato ketchup. I had a little left. Okay, and I'm going to pan my camera and show you what it looks like. And then this I'll stick in the crock pot all day. So the longer sloppy joe sits in like a crock pot, the better the flavors get. Same with chili. Oftentimes chili is better the second day than it is the first. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, see if I can get it with so much steam. Let's see if I can get it that the camera shows it. Okay, that's what the sloppy joe looks like. I'm going to serve that with baked potatoes, and I'm going to have some corn. And that is the end of part 2 of how I stretch my ground beef. I hope you enjoyed these 2 series, and I'm going to be working on some more cooking series for you all, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye! So this is what my little freezer looks like. Hamburgers that we made, and then here's the little meatloaves that we made with the pepper on the top. Sauteed some ground beef. Sauteed some of these vegetables here. And now to add to my little freezer is some dessert. So now we have cookie dough. And all we have to do is get that out of the freezer the night before. And we are ready to do some outside work, and we don't have to worry about cooking because the food is in the freezer. All we have to do is pop it out and have a quick meal. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Oh, and that's right, I wanted to show you one other thing quick. When we were at the local discount grocery store, they had all of these for 25 cents. Now, yes, I understand that they're in a tin can, and we don't like eating out of tin cans, but 25 cents, and they don't expire until next year. So I stocked up on them, and I got 12 cans of them. 25 cents. You can't beat that. And I'm going to be using this to make some of my fruit roll-ups. And I can use it to make all kinds of apple desserts, like apple bread and things like that. Because I don't have any applesauce this year because the apples were really expensive. It's unsweetened too, and it's also, it says it was grown in the USA, so that's a plus. But I thought 25 cents, it's worth it to have that in my pantry and to have that stocked up, just part of my food storage. Well, there you go, folks. Here's my dark food storage, and we'll see you tomorrow.